Hello, and welcome to Turn 0 TCG. And today I'd like to teach you how to play Dragapult Dusknoir for the Pokemon TCG. This will not be an advanced guide, but will be more like a beginner guide, headed towards teaching you how to see plays and how to play in respective matchups. In today's guide, we will be addressing three key components: my suggested deck list and key cards in the deck, including some cuts and some additions that you could make, the matchup spread into the current meta, and we'll give you some practice puzzles helping you see plays when using the deck. So first we're going to start with deck list and key cards. So the deck list that I would recommend is Justin Newdorf's deck list from the World Championships where he placed second. The cuts that you could make to this deck list would be 1 Jamming Tower, 1 Counter Catcher, 1 or 2 Hilda, and possibly 1 Dragapult EX as well. Some possible additions you might want to make is the 1 of Maractus for Retreat Lock, 1 Nest Ball, 1 Boss's Orders, or 1 or 2 Brock Scouting, generally in place of the Hilda. I would not recommend the Maractus as it's seen more in pure Dragapult builds and is difficult to fit in and use in this build, but it is a possibility. The third Dragapult EX definitely feels very useful, as well as the Jamming Tower in a variety of different situations, and I don't think cutting a counter catcher would be good. The Hilda is useful for finding Neo Upper, but I could see how the Brock Scouting could be better for that added consistency. Do is a key card in the deck that allows you to slow down your opponent in the early game. It can also buy turns in the mid to late game. You have to be wary though, due to its low HP, it is one Munkidori's Adrenabrand away from it being KO'd. But one of the best parts of it is it has great synergy with Jamming Tower. Dragapult EX is the main attacker of the deck. Using a Luminous Energy and a Basic Energy, or the Neo Opera Energy, it can attack with its incredibly powerful attack Phantom type, allowing you to hit the active for 200 and spread 6 damage counters on their bench in any way that you would like. It KOs Lily's Clefairy with the second attack, as well as Hawlucha plus the 6 damage counters KOs so many basics of Stage 2 Pokemon, including Dreepy and Rocks. Hawlucha plus Gust and Hit active KOs many support Pokemon, including Fezandipity, Latias EX, and Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. So the Dusclops and Dusknoir is what really adds power to this deck. It activates Counter Catcher and makes it so that your opponents get Iono to lower hand sizes. It also allows you to KO Munkidori off the bench with the 6 damage counters from Dragapult if you use the Dusclops. The Dusknoir KOs many Stage 1 Pokemon, such as Dracloaks, Curliers, and it allows you to put every relevant Pokemon into range of the Dragapult's attack when you hit it with the active. 6 damage counters plus the Dusknoir also KOs Lily's Clefairy off of the bench, which is a threat in many matchups. Ursaluna and Latias are very important within the deck, especially closing out the game. Ursaluna finishes games against many aggressive decks that attack with low HP 2-prize Pokemon, such as Joltik Box or Raging Bullet. Dusknoir or Dusclops helps to lower the attack cost of the Blood Moon while providing extra damage, allowing it to even finish against attackers such as Dragapult EX. The Latias allows you to retreat if you start with Ursaluna, which would be devastating otherwise. The Latias always allows free retreat into Budew, which can be very useful in order to hold energy on your Pokemon. The one thing you have to keep in mind is that these are 2-prize liabilities for early on, and in matchups such as Goldengo, it can be a real risk. Jamming Tower and Neo Opera are both very key cards within the deck. The Jamming Tower stops TM Evolution and Evolu, and provides a counter stadium. The Neo Upper allows you to chain attackers much more effectively, and allows you to set up quickly when you need to. The Neo Upper also allows you to power up Dusknoir if needed. Next up, I'd like to tell you about some key matchups for the deck into the meta. The first matchup I'd like to talk about is the most popular meta deck going into Day 1 and Day 2 of the World Championships, which was Goldengo EX. This is a 50-50 matchup. The strongest play that you have is Jamming Tower to disable their air balloons and Gust their Genesect using Boss's Orders or Counter Catches, and then attacking it and spreading damage to their bench, which can buy you a turn. The second Jamming Tower greatly helps this play, and it needs to be coupled with an Iono, otherwise the chances that they find Turo are very high. Badoo is very impactful in this matchup if they start slow. If they don't manage to bench Genesect on their first turn, and you start Badooing them, it can be very, very slow for them to set up and gives you a lot of time to start picking away at their board. If you Iono them low and that you Badoo them, it can also sometimes buy a turn. Hawlucha plus Dusclops plus Countercatcher or Boss's Orders can KO a benched Goldengo, and Ursaluna can help to close if you keep 2 damage counters on a Dengo or on Genesect or Fez. So a play I like to make is I like to go 200 onto the Genesect and then spread damage on the bench, making sure I have at least 2 damage counters on one of their Goldengos, preferably the one with energy, and so I can finish it off with Ursaluna at the end. The mirror match is a very interesting matchup, but I think the goal is to just try to take out your opponent's Dracloak going 2-2-2. If you take 2 bomb prizes twice, then it'll help you finish with Ursaluna plus Dusknoir or Pot plus Dusknoir. If you fall behind, you need to Iono them low and take out their draw support. You also have to be very careful not to go attack too preemptively, because they can really do the same thing you can and pick apart their board and slow you down with the Iono low. Grimmsnarl is a very, very difficult matchup that can go in a variety of different ways based on the way that your opponent plays. So Dusclops Munkidori and then Countercatcher another Munkidori, taking out both is very effective because it puts a real strain on their recovery resources. You need to do the same, or do the same with one Munkidori or one Frostlash straight afterwards. Only attack their active once their Munkidori are taken out, because if you give them damage with Munkidori on board, they can take apart your board very quickly. Be very aware of devolution plays. I would recommend trying to set up 2 Dragapults and make sure that they haven't taken too much damage, and set up your own Munkidori to try to keep your Dragapults out of Devo range so that your board they don't prevent you from setting up an attacker for later turns. Ursaluna, if they do make the Devo play, can be very, very, very effective at closing out games when paired with Dusclops, Dusknoir, or even just by itself. Gardevoir EX is a matchup where you really have to start strong. If they set up double Gardevoir EX, they have almost just won the game on the spot, because you don't have a way to KO both, and when they keep promoting Gardevoir EX and just bench lose Clefairy or the Bravery Charm, they will probably be able to recover that and continuously KO back. Try to KO a Soul Gardevoir with Dusknoir or plus Dragapult if they do manage to set one up. Dusclops Countercatcher and KOing double Curlier is a very, very effective plan that often slows them down significantly. If they do manage to set up Gardevoirs and you can't KO their Gardevoir, try to go for an Iono plus KO Clefairy or KO their draw support to try to stop them and slow them down in the game, hopefully putting them into a dead hand. Jamming Tower and Badoo can really help in the early game, stopping them from fighting TM Evo or their Curliers in another way. But they do play the Artisan as counter stadiums, so it may not always be effective. Raging Bolt is a pretty straightforward matchup where you should be able to win most of the time as long as you don't have a rough start. Iono plus Badoo early on can help prevent knockdown for setup, which can be a really big deal. You want to make sure you can set up multiple Dracloak by your second turn and be aware that they have the baby Raging Bolt that can snipe them. Hawlucha can put Ogerpons or Fezandipity into Dragapult range, which is a very big deal in this matchup. Dusknoir onto Mew or Squawk, specifically Mew, which they bench a lot, can help to set up 4 prize turns, which can help because then all you need is an Ursaluna to finish the game. The straight Dragapult matchup is one of your most difficult matchups, but is very winnable. You want to make sure you can take out their Munkidori and their Dracloaks, and do not give them Munkidori damage to work with. You want to set up your own Munkidori and try to keep a low HP liability free board, removing Badoos or Duskulls from play, and do not rebench them unless you need to. Often you use Ursaluna to close with Dusknoir, or to KO bench 2 prizes such as Fezidipity or Latias. A low Iono plus KO Dracloaks or Fez can be very impactful if you fall behind, and be careful not to attack too preemptively. Also, be aware that they have a Miraculous that can retreat lock you, so do not bench Fezidipity or Latias or Blood Moon Ursaluna unless you really need to. The next deck we're going to talk about is Zard Pidgeot Dusknoir, which is one of your easiest matchups. They really struggle to one-hit KO you, because as long as you keep pressuring their basics before they evolve, they really can't find the pieces they need. You want to abuse Dusclops and Dusknoir to take out their basics before they evolve, specifically prioritizing their Pidgeys or Pidgeots or Pidgeotos, just so your Ionos really stick and they can't find the pieces that they need. Ursaluna KO Fez often closes out these games as well. The Duloc has a significant impact, so try to get into that quickly, as well as the Jamming Tower can also do a lot, because they often play TM Evo. Overall, if you manage to slow them down and prevent them from setting up Pidgeot EX, their deck really becomes so much weaker and can't execute what it needs to do. It can't find the pieces to use their Dusknoirs or set up their Charizards consistently or find their Gusticans. I'd also like to talk about EV Box, which is a pretty even matchup. The Iono plus the Bidoof can help to prevent knockdowns because they no longer have access to Ultra Ball for them. You have to be very aware of Sylveon and try to maintain multiple threats on your board if you suspect your opponent's playing it. You want to KO their Hoothoots to help them slow their engine, which can be very, very effective, especially with Dusclops and Counter Catcher. A late game Iono plus KOing their Fezidipity or their Mew, which is their only draw support other than their Knockdown, which would be very hard to find in the late game, can be very devastating. You often want to finish off with Ursaluna because they bench these liabilities as their draw support. Dusknoir plus Hawlucha, and if you Gust and Pulse attack can make a 4 prize turn onto their draw support, allowing you to KO their main attacker as well as their Mew EX. Joltik Box is a pretty easy matchup as long as you don't fall behind really early. What you need to do is you want to basically not bench Bidoof unless they don't find Miraidon or Nest Ball or Ultra Ball, which is a very uncommon situation. Take advantage of your multi-prize turns. They often have to bench Mew EX for the draw support, so you can often just go Dusknoir and finish it off, or you can Dusknoir their Clefairy and finish it off, which can help you take 4 prize turns. Ursaluna is a very, very strong closer due to them having many 2 prize basics, EXs, that all have less than 240 HP. You don't really want to KO their Joltik because it gives them access to Counter Catcher and Fezidipity draw, which really cripples you. They struggle to one-hit KO you, especially if you are regularly disrupting them, so Ionos can have a very big impact. If you do have to go first, the Jamming Tower has a very significant impact as it makes it much more difficult for them to retreat into the Joltik. And Zoroark EX is a very 50-50 matchup and is a deck that's been in the spotlight since Worlds, claiming 2 top 8 spots. What you need to do is you need to make sure that you're KOing their Munkidori off the bench. KOing them means that they have much less power and they really don't have the damage cap to be able to continuously put pressure on your Zoroarks. KOing both Zoroark can also be very powerful. You don't want to give them damage for Munkidori or for Powerful Rage unless necessary or you're setting up a checkmate board state. If you are doing this, you have to make sure that you're considering that they may have Turo, as many of their lists play 2 Turo. Watch out for Toadscrew in some lists, as it can really shut off your recovery and make your deck much less powerful. They don't have means of taking one-hit KOs unless you give them damage for Munkidori or Powerful Rage, so make sure you do not give them this and even pass over attacking into their Zoroark, because it just gives them so much power over their board. Try not to bench liabilities. You don't really want Ursaluna KO for game, as well as Latias EX is a weakness to Dark, so it can get one-hit KO'd by their Zoroark, so it's not a great thing to bench in this matchup. Before I move on to the puzzles, I'd just like to say, these matchup guides, of course, they are very general, in what you should do. These are not always going to work, and I wouldn't use this every single time. You should always consider board state and what your opponent's doing and how your hand is looking before approaching any of these game plans. Now I'd like to move on to some puzzles. These puzzles are not meant to be incredibly difficult, and do not take my solution as gospel, as my solution may not have been the most effective solution. But let me know in the comments if you guys had a different solution. Do not consider these puzzles as realistic situations, as they have been fabricated just for practice. In puzzle number 2, ignore the benching of the Blood Moon Ursa Luna, as it's completely irrelevant to the puzzle and I misclicked and accidentally placed it down. Please see the links in the description if you're interested in trying these puzzles, as I'll link them both down there and you can try them for yourself within the simulator. I'd like to say thank you for watching this video, and I hope it helped you learn Dragapult EX much better. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you found this video useful and entertaining. Please leave comments down below if you had any discrepancies, questions, or if you want any other tutorials for the future.